Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with your host, Josh Stiles. And I'm going to jump right into this episode. Everyone knows what happened this weekend. The clips went viral. Tank Davis went against Mr. Azteca Mario Barrios in a fight at 140 that had, truthfully, in the beginning, not that many implications in my mind, but hands down, was possibly one of Tank's hardest fights on paper. You had Tank moving up to 140. Everyone was curious to see if maybe he could potentially make some noise in 140, and he took on a very formidable Mario Barrios. Now, Mario Barrios, before the fight, I was very, very unsure on who was going to win. I was like 55-45, leaning towards Mario Barrios. Just to clear something up, I think Gervonta Tank Davis is a stellar talent. I think he has power. I think he can box. You see the pedigree, you see his extensive amateur background, and I'm well informed about that. If you go look back at the old episodes, I do the Gervonta Tank Davis story where I kind of go and talk about Gervonta Tank Davis's life and how he came from the mean streets of Baltimore, and it's been a very, very good, successful come up story. However, one thing I'm just going to point out is as a fighter, I think Gervonta Tank Davis is the goods. He can hit, he can box. The list goes on and on. He has star power, likable guy. It keeps going on and on. However, in this fight, let's be honest. Mario Barrios is certainly a formidable fighter. Good, solid, regular champion, WBA. And when you really look back and see more or less how he got to this point, he fought on the development cards of Gervonta Tank Davis. He was on the undercard, promoted by PBC, who has very, very close ties to Mayweather. Clearly, Heyman works with Mayweather. Personally, I don't think Mayweather Promotions is a real thing. I think Gervonta is primarily his only fighter, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'll go and do more extensive research on that and whatnot. But clearly, what they're trying to do is, especially with this fight, they propped up an opponent that was formidable for sure. You put it on pay per view. You're trying to solidify Tank Davis as a truly true pay per view star. Tio hasn't been on pay per view yet. Devin Haney hasn't been on pay per view yet. Ryan Garcia hasn't been on pay per view yet. And truthfully, Lomachenko hasn't even really been on pay per view, if I'm not mistaken. I can look back and verify that. But for the most part, I haven't seen Lomachenko on a pay per view. Okay. Now, is Lomachenko Teofimo 2 maybe will be pay per view? Who knows? Teofimo was going to have his first pay per view fight against Gambosos for Triller, which is a different platform. Gervonta Tank Davis beat Leo Santa Cruz on pay per view. Everyone remembers the crazy clip. And in this fight, it was a competitive fight for a few rounds. I didn't have it nearly as close as Steve Farho had it. I didn't have Tank Davis down going into the 10th, or where Floyd Mayweather had to, hey, Tank, you are down, step it up. I didn't have it that like that at all, actually. I had Tank Davis winning pretty comfortably, and Barrios did give a solid account of himself, but Tank showed that his pressure, he was able to sustain the pressure, that constant mental pressure of knowing that someone has a legitimate one-punch eraser. We didn't know if he had it at 140, but he showed he had it. You saw him drop Barrios several times, and then eventually the ref just said, hey, it's over. And that's pretty much what happened with Barrios versus Tank Davis. He showed he has power. He showed he could carry it up to, I don't know how far up. I personally don't think. Could he knock out a 147 pounder? You saw the clips of him destroying Ivan Redcatch. Possibly. I think he has punching power that can knock out the untrained at any weight, truthfully. Anyone gets hit with the right punch, if you're not at the same quality level of, let's say, Gervonta Tank Davis, you perhaps could get knocked out. I mean, look at Floyd Mayweather when he hit Logan Paul. You saw Logan Paul get rocked by someone that was severely smaller than him, and Floyd is not known as the most devastating puncher. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's feather fisted or anything like that. But Gervonta Tank Davis in this fight showed that he took a bigger opponent that perhaps is stronger, more threatening, and he disposed of him in a spectacular fashion. And I give him credit. Kudos to you. This is hands down your second most impressive victory. In my opinion, his best victory to date is against a prime Jose Pedraza. That's still to this day one of his best fights, hands down. He boxed, he brawled, he looked fantastic, and he was so young at the time. Accomplishing 3 weight division titles is certainly a feat that is very formidable. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It's a very, very, in my opinion, applaudable feat. However, this is kind of where I got to make some clarifications. Gervonta Tank Davis beat Jorge Barrios. Sorry, I keep saying Jorge Barrios. That was another fighter. I remember Barrios was at 130 or he was in a lower weight. He ripped his cheek and it was one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen. Actually, it was his ear, I believe. No, I think it was his cheek. But Mario Barrios was formidable at 140. Was he Jose Ramirez? No. Was he even Ivan Baranchik? No. Was he Jose Cepeda? No. What do you think Mario Barrios could be Victor Postol? No, I don't think so. Let's even go further. Do you think Mario Barrios can beat Josh Taylor? Absolutely not. So when you think about the best guys at 140, Barrios wasn't one of the best guys at 140 or even a very, very high tier 140. He had a belt, and Tank accomplished something that was a calculated cherry pick. Was it a harder fight than maybe people thought? Yes. But if you look at the paper odds, if you look at things objectively and try to take the emotions out of it, you fought a guy that won the title fighting a guy with 8 fights. In Barrios WBA, he won. Yeah, cool. And I'm happy for Tank. But where I get a little critical is where people start saying, oh, Gervonta is the best. He's a pound for pound. How? He didn't fight anyone in the pound for pound. He just came off of fighting Leo Santa Cruz and Yuriokis Gamboa. How are you pound for how does that compute? And this is where the Mayweather narrative and the way they're promoting Tank and the I'm going to keep everything in PBC Mayweather promotions, money over legacy. All right, I understand that, but then you can't start saying that Tank is pound for pound a great when you don't have greatness on your resume, in my opinion. And again, it's just my opinion. Just a guy talking into a camera on a microphone. Who gives a fuck what I got to say, right? I mean, truthfully, whatever. But objectively, if you're looking at it, do you think beating Mario Barrios makes you a pound for pound great? No, because clearly you've campaigned at 135 and you could comfortably make 135 and you comfortably make it sometimes, you comfortably don't. And 140, I don't think moving up 5 pounds when you campaigned at 135 warrants you to be a pound for pound great. Yeah, you're going down from 130. Then you make it seem like you're jumping up 2 weight classes, but you've been at 135. and then you fight Barrios, who's the regular champion. Josh Taylor is the super champion. It's not the same. And I don't expect Tank to go fight Josh Taylor. And truthfully, from a business perspective, I understand how moving up 2 weight classes, claiming, hey, this is my 3rd weight class division that I'm going to win a title in, that's pay-per-view worthy on paper. You're going up, you're trying to sell something, you package it that way. That's totally plausible. But to say you're a pound for pound great now, I think this pound for pound list is getting crazy. It's a fictitious list. It's fictional. We all come up with it. But unfortunately, it's a part of boxing, and we know the pound for pound list. You got Canelo at number 1, and 2 down, you kind of mix them and match them. I feel like Tio beating Lomachenko, who was on the pound for pound number 1, that makes a lot more sense why you would put him on the list, because you beat number 1 and you compare yourself to the best. And that's the thing with Tank here. I think Tank is very good. I think he's good. I just want to see him fight at least elite competition that's not just PBC riffraff or people that are just in the PBC stable. If you look at the rankings, Barrios isn't, in my opinion, I'm not saying he's a C-class fighter, but if you look at the tiers of fighters, A being Josh Taylor, A minus probably Jose Ramirez, right? The B tier or B plus tier would be Regis Prograis, Ivan Baranchik. Even Victor Postel gave Jose Ramirez a good fucking fight. And then you got to go Barrios. He was undefeated, but beating a guy with 8 fights is your best fight win. Kind of gets a little like shaky with the resume here and there. And like, I'm not anti PBC. I actually think PBC is arguably 1 or 2 in terms of powerhouses. And I love what they do for their fighters. They pay their fighters. And even with Tank, if they're trying to get Tank paid, fine. No qualms with that. Just this proper, like, propping up Tank to be this pound for pound great. Potentially, I think Tank could be very, very good. I think Tank is a top dog. But in order to verify that, the only way we can do that is when you see him in with Devin Haney's. Or if you want to be at 140, fight Baranchik. I mean, I get he's on top rank and there's a bunch of contracts, and I get these things get mucky. And yeah, but at the end of the day, only way you're going to be on that pound for pound list is if you fight people. And I just want Tank to fight the best, like every other boxing pundit does, like every other boxing fan does. And it just sucks that you're immediately labeled you're a Tank hater, or oh, you're a dick rider of this or this and that, because you want to see greatness expressed by fighting people that are great. No disrespect to Barrios. He was a formidable champion. He took some good shots. I thought he fought a pretty good fight. And he hit Tank a few times where Tank had his eyes open and like, oh shit, that was a good shot. But I don't think a Barrios is going to bring out the best in Tank. You saw what Pedraza brought out of Tank. It was dominance, and then Pedraza came back on, and you saw Gervonta take it up another level, and that's the level I want to see. Who Tank's going to fight now? Mayweather made a proclamation that he doesn't want him to fight outside of the Mayweather promotion stable, which I don't even know who's in that stable anymore. But I would love to see Tank just fight quality opponents and continue it. I don't want to see him fight another guy like Barrios. I know he's not going to fight the top of the top like Tio, Lomachenko, all these guys. It's probably never going to happen. I hope it does, because I think Tank, truthfully, can bang with these guys. I actually don't pick him to beat Devin Haney, because I feel like Devin Haney would actually outbox Tank. If he gets caught, he gets caught. But I want to see it. Be wrong, cool, no problem. And then you get the credit. That's the shit. Like, I'm I'm going to doubt you until you verify it. And that's my right. And when you earn your right to be like, all right, you were wrong, I'm the first one to be like, yeah, I was wrong. Just like Barrios lost. Okay. I mean, you're moving up 2 weight classes. You're fighting the tallest guy of your career. You struggle sometimes with focus. You, all right, no problem. I mean, it's a 4-1 underdog, Barrios. All right. I mean, whatever. But Tank Davis, I just hope when you're 35, 34, and you're at the end of your career, you made your money, fine. Why doesn't Joe Calzaghe get the love that he got, that he should get for having a perfect record, for truthfully being one of the most talented boxers, but he never fought a soul? It wasn't until he beat Jeff Lacey, it wasn't until he beat an old Roy Jones or old Bernard Hopkins that people started to be like, oh, this guy's so good. Or Mikhail Kessler. He started getting credit. Why wait until you're about to retire to get the credit you deserve? You'll be that much more of a star, especially if everyone fights each other. But you know what? Make your money. I don't know how much Heyman's paying him. He's probably making a shit ton of money. Mayweather has a plan for his fighter. And truthfully, from a promoter's perspective, if I was Mayweather, why would I put him in with high risk, low reward fights? Fighting Lomachenko would be a big pay per view. Everyone would watch it. But if he loses, is Tank still marketable? So I understand that. If he fights Teofimo Lopez, will it be a big fight? Yeah, on paper, but Teofimo's still not a pay per view generating fighter. He hasn't been on pay per view. Tank, we'll see how much he generated this weekend. But there's no guarantee that those fights are going to be made into these big pay per view successes. And what happens if he loses? Again, I understand that. So Mayweather is going to be calculated. He has a lot riding on Tank. He's by far his biggest asset for Mayweather promotion. So I get it. So who knows how it's going to go out, but congratulations to Tank Davis. Good stoppage win. Good fight. You put on a show. I love the dancing. I love the showmanship. He has power in his right and his left. Kid is the goods. I just don't want the goods to expire and then you want to go and fight other people. Don't let the goods expire. When you have the goods, enjoy them or they're going to expire and we're going to get these fights that should have happened a long time ago. I don't think people remember Gamboa and Juanma Lopez. That fight was supposed to marinate. Oh, we need these fights. This has to happen. Fights never happen. You can have these two people that will never fight and it sucks and you just don't want it. Well, that's the episode for today. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment. Feel free to disagree with me, like my shit, don't like my shit. It's all good. I just like interacting here, just sharing my thoughts and what goes on in my head. Let me know how you feel about Tank. Follow on Instagram if you're not, at Good Boxing Podcast. Have a fantastic day.